Okay, so this is very impromptu. Is that what you say? I don't know. I really wanted to film my testimony like properly. I wanted to do it properly with my proper cameras and you know, like type it all out so that I know exactly what to say, but I just feel like I need to do this now and I need to just leave it as raw as possible. And yeah, so I'm filming on my phone, so the quality isn't that great, and I just really hope you can't hear the neighbours. The kids are like going crazy. But I just really want to share this. So I wanted to share my story of how I found God again, and just how he has healed like my heart that was just so broken. About this time last year I was going through and the worst time ever. I was so lost and I was just going through the absolute worst time ever, and I honestly didn't think I was going to ever be okay again. And yeah, so I wanted to share just a little bit of my story, and yeah, I really enjoy watching people's testimonies and seeing how God has transformed their lives. And I just, tonight, I literally have church in an hour, so but yeah, I really needed to share this like right now, and I just feel like I need to do it, so that's enough talking. So I grew up like in a Christian household. Like we went to church every Sunday, and I prayed a lot. I remember like even as a young girl like talking to God as if he was like my best friend. Like, you know, I would just talk to him about stupid things. And I sort of just went to church and stuff. And then by the time I got to high school, when I got to high school, I sort of kind of got distracted by things. Like I was on Facebook all the time, and all of a sudden I cared what people thought about me and what I looked like, and all of a sudden I started caring about boys and all this stuff, and I just got so distracted, and like my whole relationship with God was just sort of put to one side, and I didn't really think about him or really want to think about him. There was just so many other things that were more important. And yeah, and so just fast forward into year 12, because I want to sort of get to the good part of my story and not sort of ramble on for too long. Yeah, so in year 12 I got into a relationship with someone. I met this person, and it was like my first like adult relationship. Like I feel like it was my first serious relationship where I was in like an adult-ish, or like in a mature mindset where I could think about things properly, and I could be like, yes, I am actually in love. Like I wasn't just like, I'm in year 8 and I'm in love. It was like the real deal. And I just fell head over heels for this guy. I was just like so in love, and I really just like gave him all the love I had in me. I wasn't really like damaged. I hadn't really had a lot of trauma, and so I just had so much to give, and I just gave him all of me, and I invested all of myself into this person, without really knowing, you know, how bad that is. And yeah, so the first 6 months were really great. It was just such an awesome time. I just sort of like soaked up every like great experience. I remember feeling just like, wow, like I've got like a boyfriend, and like this guy loves me, and like I like actually love this guy. Like it was just such a crazy like feeling, and I was just on such a high. And at the 6-month mark we started, you know, having problems, and the problems we started having then were reoccurring throughout our whole relationship. And at that time I started sort of opening my eyes a little bit, and I was like, wow, like maybe we aren't the best match. But at that point I was just so dependent on this person, and it's so scary to say that, like to admit that you were dependent on someone, but I really was. Like I was young, I was just new in uni, and this person was now my world, and the thought of like letting this person go or like going on without this person was just so like so freaking scary. And so yeah, I was attached to this person, and a little bit into our relationship he moved into my house with my family, because of situations, and I feel like I just grew more and more dependent and more attached to this person. And then in our last year of our relationship, he got a job quite far away, still in the same state, and I decided, you know, just my heart was just like, yes, like of course. It was the first thing. I didn't even have to think about it. I was going to go with him, and I was going to sacrifice sort of like doing uni on campus and living here near my family and my friends, and it was just like, there was no questioning, like I wanted to do this for this person. I really, really loved him. And so we moved, and it was scary, and I think the first few months we were okay, and as the relationship went on, those reoccurring problems just sort of kept happening. Things weren't changing. I think from both sides it was just unhealthy, and we both had things that we needed to work on, and we both weren't working on them, or if we were, I just think we weren't compatible in just a whole variety of ways. And without going into detail, that relationship ended, and it was honestly the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. So here I am in a different town, like what do I do? And so I called my parents. I was like, it's done, like, and I had to move sort of my whole life back here to Perth, and I got the dog, which was really great. I think that was just a little miracle out of that whole situation. But yeah, so I moved my whole life back to Perth, and the first 2 weeks was really, really, really hard. I cried every single day. I cried all day. I just spent those 2 weeks crying and feeling sorry for myself, and I think that was totally fine. And so during those 2 weeks, I specifically remember it was just the first 2 weeks that were the worst of the worst. I was angry at 3 people. So I was angry at myself. I was blaming myself for strange things. I was blaming myself for staying in the relationship. I was blaming myself for making mistakes in the relationship. I was blaming myself for not being good enough, or not doing enough for this person, or not loving him enough, or not being a better girlfriend to him. And the second person I was angry was the guy. He wasn't a bad person. I think that we were just both very, like, not compatible, and we had gone through all sorts of big life changes at a very young age, and also very early on in our relationship. But yeah, I was super angry at him, I'm not gonna lie, and I was angry at him for a long time. But strangely enough, the person I was most angry at during those 2 weeks specifically was God. And it was the one person that I'd pushed so far out of this relationship. And here I was, like, so angry with him. I remember repeating in my head constantly, like, God, why did you let this happen? Why would you let this happen? How could you put something great into my life for 4 years knowing that you were going to take this away, knowing that you were going to break my heart? And I was so angry at God. I remember saying this to my mum over and over. I remember saying this to my friends over and over. I was just like, why would God do this? Why would God do this? I couldn't understand why God would make me hurt so much. And just talking about it now, I haven't, like, cried or been upset about this in a very long time, and I just, like, I can feel it. Like, I can feel the hurt that I had during that time. And after the 2 weeks, I had sort of pretty much cried myself out. I was like, I literally have nothing left to cry, and I didn't want to feel anything, and I didn't want to deal with my emotions. I just didn't want, like, I just felt like I was beyond repair, and I just wanted to distract myself. And so I fell into a pretty terrible distraction. I started going out, clubbing and partying and drinking, and just, like, living this lifestyle that was not me at all. Not before the relationship, not now. Like, it wasn't in my character. I definitely didn't enjoy it as, like, a thing. Like, it was a coping mechanism. And I did this for about 3 months straight. We would always go out, and then at some point in those last few weeks of the 3 months, I remember I saw something on Facebook, or I heard something about this guy that I was with, that I got out of a relationship with, and I felt so sad. And I remember straight away sending my friend a message saying, hey, do you want to go out tonight? And then I just remember thinking, what? Like, how did I get here? How did I get to the point where every time I feel sad, I go and drink and go out and kiss boys and do all this stuff that is just not me to deal with this? And I had a pretty terrible experience as well, which is just a whole nother story. And yeah, and so I ended that. I was like, okay, got that out of my system, and I haven't done that since. Yeah, really glad I finished that. But I think at that point so after those 3 months, I was like, okay, I'm done with this partying and clubbing and drinking and being stupid. But instead of sort of going like, okay, now I need to like face my problems and like deal with things, I got into another distraction. And this one was slightly less damaging to the liver, but still not good. So I started gaming. Like I started playing a game again that I had played before. Actually, the very game that caused a lot of problems in our relationship from the guy's side. I started playing that game again, and it became like my life for like 2 or 3 months. Like I was literally gaming all day, going to bed late, waking up late, and repeating. Because this game was just great. It was like distracting. When I was sort of engaged in this game, I was not thinking about anything else. My mind was like on this, and it was just great. It was a great way of dealing with, or not dealing with, my problems. And so I did that for quite a while, and then by some miracle, so don't let your parents tell you that games are all bad, because through the games I started talking to a couple of people that I went to school with, and these guys were talking about church or just mentioning it every now and then, and I was like, wait, these guys are still going to church? These guys are still talking about God? Like, haven't they like moved on? Or like, I don't even really know what was going through my mind, but I was just like, that's so weird. Like, I can't believe that after all these years, like literally like 4 years or whatever, they are still like going to church and like so like passionate about God. And I was like, okay, this is weird. And so I decided I was going to go to their church. And here is the really cool part. So the day before I went to their church, I remember praying to God. And it was the first time that I had prayed properly and genuinely and intently in years. Like in years. It was the first time that I'd really sat down and I was like, look, God, sorry for being angry at you. And it wasn't a long prayer either. It was intentional, and it was short. And basically I asked God for 2 things. So I was like, God, 1, can you put people in my life that will bring me closer to you? That was pretty much my exact words, just in Afrikaans, in my home language. So I was like, God, please put people in my life that's going to bring me closer to you. Because at that point I had made the connection, and I'd realized that like it was like my last resort. Like I had tried lots of different things. There were other things I tried in those 6 months of dodging my problems. Lots of other things that weren't good. But yeah, so the first thing I asked God was, can you put people in my life that will bring me closer to him? And the second thing I asked God was to find someone that will love me, and someone that I can love without fear, and that I can love, and that I can give my heart to again, and that I can, to find someone that I can love, and to find someone that will love me and show me that I am worth it, and that I am fearfully and wonderfully made by God. And the very next day, I'm not gonna cry, the very next day, God literally went above and beyond and answered both of those prayers. That next day at church, God answered both of those things that I asked him for. So I walked into this church and I was like, wow, like all of a sudden I had found a confidence that I had lost in my relationship. In my relationship, I had been treated in a way that wasn't intentionally bad, but the way that I was being treated and the way that I felt in that relationship made me feel like I wasn't worthy of love, like I wasn't worthy of anything good. And my self-esteem was just so low. I had anxiety. I was like, I deserve to be in this relationship. I deserve to feel this bad. And so yeah, I was just like a shell of myself. And when I walked into this church, all of a sudden I felt confident. Like I felt like myself. I don't think I'd ever felt confident enough in my entire life to just be myself. And I felt myself and I felt peace. It was just like walking into this church, into this scary moment where I was gonna, you know, meet all these new people that I hadn't ever met before, and, you know, like all by myself, going to the church all by myself. And it was just peace. And when I met all these people, it was just like, I just felt accepted. But like beyond just like, I don't know, I felt like these people just accepted me just as I am. They didn't know anything about me and they just invited me into their lives. And the people that I met that night, I spend 3 or 4 days a week with all of these people. I go to church with them every Sunday. I'm a youth leader with all of them. We go to Bible study together, and we just hang out all the time. And these people have changed my entire life. These people have shown me that I can have friends and positive people in my life that are uplifting and encouraging, and people that challenge me to be closer to God. And each and every one of these people, not that I have like a close personal relationship with every single one of them, because there are just so many, but each and every one of these people, I can see so much greatness, and I can just see God all over them. And it's just awesome. Like, it's just amazing. And so I met all these people who are now people that I just value so much, and that I see all the time, and that I love. And yes, that bring me closer to God. And so that was prayer 1 answered. Tick. And the second thing that happened that night is I met the love of my life. And like, I'm not going to go into like soapy details about this, but that night I also met the guy that has single-handedly, with God, shown me that I am worthy of love, and that I am beautiful and special, and that I am worthy. And I have never in my entire life felt beautiful and felt special until these people came into my life. And it's just awesome. It's just awesome. And yeah, and so now it's been about like 8 or 9 months, and no, it's been about 7 or 8 months now, since that day. And God has just continually transformed my life. They use the word in the Bible, transformed, and I cannot think of a better word to describe what has happened in my life since opening up my heart to God again. My life has been transformed. I feel whole again. I feel like I wake up in the morning and it's like God loves me and I am loved, and it's just the best feeling ever. And I went from feeling like my heart was so broken that I was never ever going to be okay again. I felt like I was never ever going to be able to let anyone into my heart and going to be able to love someone else, because I was just so hurt and so afraid. And there are so many other details in the story that I could include that would just give you some context of where I came from and where I am now, and just show you how clearly God has transformed my life and how He has just done amazing things in my life. And now I get to serve God. I get to teach in Sunday school, and more importantly, I get to be a leader at youth, and I get to talk about my story to the kids who are asking questions and who are seeking, and I get to be there for them as a mentor, and to show them like how awesome God is and how He can transform our lives, and how through Him literally everything is possible. And I just wanted to finish on the fact that having God in my life hasn't fixed all my problems. It hasn't swiped clear all the bad things in my life, but it has given me a suit of armor to walk through these things. It has given me strength to know that I can get through these things. It's given me guidance, it's given me discernment, and it's just given me a confidence, and it's just awesome. And I am just so grateful for everything that's happened to me. And now I can look back and think, this is why God let me go through that. This is why my heart was broken. This is why I went through all of the things that led me to here, because now I have God. And I really don't want to keep going on for too long, but just another thing I wanted to share is there's a story in the Bible about God having these sheep, and it says he's got these 99 sheep and they're all following him, and there's this one lost sheep, and God leaves the 99 sheep that he already has to go find this one sheep. And I'm really not telling the story in much detail, but the cool thing about that story is showing how God reaches his hand out to all of us, and how he chases us down, even though he has all these other people who are so great and who serve him and who love him and who know him. He is still chasing down all of these other people who need God. We all need God. And I feel like throughout my whole entire life, God has had his hand outstretched, and I have dodged it away so many times. And now when I sit back, I can see God all over my whole life, and I can see how this whole time he was chasing me. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for how everything had happened, and how I can sit here now and say that God has found me, and that I have found God, and that that I have accepted him into my life. And it's just so awesome. It's just the best thing ever. And so I thought, I had seen this in a few testimony videos, that people prayed at the end of their videos, and I think I'll just do that. I'll just pray a really quick prayer, and yeah. So thank you so much, God, for encouraging me to, I'm gonna cry, to share my story, and for encouraging me to do it right now, even though there's like 3 minutes until I have to leave for church. God, I just ask you to soften the hearts of each and every person that's watching this video right now, and to open their hearts to the possibilities of you and of your greatness, and to be able to see that if they are hurting, or if they are going through something, or if they need you, God, that you are there, and that you do amazing things, and that you are stretching your hand out right now, asking them to accept you and to let you into their life. God, I just ask you to go with everyone, and to just hold your hand over them, and to allow them to find you, God. And if they have questions, God, I ask you to encourage them to ask, and to not be afraid to seek you. And yeah, Lord, I just thank you so much for this opportunity that we all have to share our stories. And God, I just thank you for the confidence that you've given me tonight to share my story. And yeah, I just ask you to go with each and every person watching this video. And yeah, thank you so much, God. In your name I pray. Amen. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you got something out of this, and managed to get out of here, managed to get this video done without too many tears. So yeah, thank you so much. If you do have any questions or want to share any of your stories, then I totally encourage you to in the comments below, or email me, or find me somewhere on social media.